Welcome, everybody, to the Mikey Likes You podcast. I'm the Mikey Who Likes, joined by the one and only Giorgio Crucinopsis and his thick, powerful Puzzo.
The third.
And thank you so much to everybody who gave me such kind words about the episode I did last week with my daughter. It really meant a lot. I, of course, as any parent is very biased and was very proud of her. But when everyone would say kind things in comments or just in my personal life, it means so much to me, and I know it means a lot to her. And I'm trying my best to allow her to absorb all that without creating a wild narcissist who thinks that she's the next, Lucille Ball or something. Nothing against Lucy, but you know what I mean. She's 10, so I don't want her to tomorrow think that she's now the biggest star in the world. But it is super nice, and it means a lot. I had the episode prior to that, I did a question and answer, and I got so many awesome questions that I literally didn't have a chance to address the other half of the question. So I'm going to do part 2, and part 1 was very well received. Just listen to Bill O'Reilly.
Fucking thing sucks. Fuck it.
All right, maybe it wasn't uniformly well received, but let's get right into it and answer some questions that you provided to me on my socials. I'm at Mike Catherwood on that there, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and all that fun stuff. No question, just a big fan. You live, Mike. Thank you, Payaso. Interesting question. Sledge Mason. Oh, cool. Killer. That's one of the fucking manliest jobs. Masonry and like concrete work and stuff like that is so fucking awesome. The reason I love stuff like that, like I was watching these dudes laying they were laying concrete in like a driveway 3 or 4 months ago, and I was thinking to myself, I saw them break out a spade and stuff, and I was like, man, that's so awesome, because besides like the trucks that deliver the goods and things like that, you're essentially doing it's the same work for like 1,000 years. Like it's the same way they laid the concrete, they laid the materials in the streets of Rome and Athens. It's exactly the same kind of framework, and I'm like, fuck, that is so fucking awesome. But it's a cool question. Idols or Sleaford Mods? I love both bands. I think those are two new up and coming bands that I like a lot. But I will take Idols simply because they do a cover of Stick, 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 Stick from Hey Dougie. Which is a cartoon in the UK that it's one of my favorite cartoons, modern cartoons. It's so good. I watch it when my daughter's not with me. That's how much I love Hey Dougie. And they do a cover of Stick, 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 which is one of my favorite parts of Hey Dougie, to the point that I made my own Stick, 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 Sticky, Sticky, Stick, Stick. As you can see, I'll show you pictures here. I made that myself because I was so motivated. And they do a cover. It sounds good. Check it out.
Stick, 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 sticky, sticky, stick, 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 sticky, sticky, stick, 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 sticky, sticky, stick, stick.
Best healthy option on a road trip and you only have access to gas station or fast food. Well, man, it's a pretty daunting road trip. You don't just have access to that, okay? If you're going from hotel to hotel, obviously you don't have a kitchen to prep and stuff like that. But you're not relegated to just fast food and gas station food. It might have to comprise some things. But please, let's think outside the box here and put a little bit more priority on our health than that. What I mean by that is, I have a couple very overweight friends, and they were saying, I know I need to, with this example she was referring to, I was saying how a certain level of vitamin C and vitamin D is pretty crucial. That outside of that, don't waste your money on supplementation. But frankly, you should only look to vitamin D because most of us just don't get that amount of sun. Because vitamin C, just have a grapefruit every day, have an orange. And she said, I can't do that every day. I'm too busy. I go, if you're out of Diet Coke and you're coming home from work, you'll go out of your way to get more Diet Coke, won't you? You'll make sure you have your Diet Coke. So don't say you can't do that. I'm talking about one piece of citrus fruit every day. And that just is a little bit of a side story to illuminate that you're not always as handcuffed as you may make yourself out to be. Now, I am not, pro bodybuilder guy that's going to sit here and be like, just take every Tupperware everywhere you go. You have to have your perfectly measured food. No, I understand there's road trips and there's situations with work and whatnot and family that make it so you're kind of a little bit more contained on what you can do. But if you're out on the prowl, you still have access to fruit just as much as you have access to Snickers bars, Oreos, whatnot, or gas station food, sodas. If you get enough fruit to last you for your entire road trip, then once or twice you stop at the fast food place and you get burgers and take off the bun. So you have fruit and meat. That solves all your problems anywhere, certainly in this country, where if you're in a car, if you're in a vehicle, you have access to the myriad of fast food burger places, okay? And if you have the fast food burger place once, twice, 3 times in however long your drive is, you also have the apples and the oranges and the stuff sitting next to you. You take the burger, the fixings off of the burger, and you have the patties and the cheese, and then you have a couple apples with it. That you're pretty close to awesome with that. That's a hack that I've used numerous times. Yes, when you're starting to get super geeky, it's not like what I would consider optimal for me. But if you're eating pizza and junk food day in and day out, you're now elevating yourself into pretty damn good territory with meat and fruit. Okay. So that's my best advice.
Here's a few hacks I had from traveling while having to keep my weight down.
Georgie over here, very healthy guy, very hardworking guy who travels like a really, really burdensome amount from vehicle to flight to different time zone, blah, blah, blah.
So some of my best little tricks is every gas station has fruit. It's usually up by the front, up by some of like the quick purchase things. There's bananas, there's apples. They're not the freshest, they're not the best, but they're much better than whatever processed food you're getting. Grocery stores, depending upon what part of the country you're in, Hy-Vee, H-E-B, Whole Foods, they all have fresh salad bars, hot salad bars. It's an extra 5 minutes versus stopping and getting a burger. If you're walking into the fast food restaurant, it's the same amount of time. Put your stuff in your salad container, weigh it, go. And yeah, like I said, just taking the patties off, taking the dressings off, no sauce. Wendy's had those grilled snack wraps for a while that they literally just cut a chicken breast in half. And you're like, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah.
Give me 4 of those. Oh, Chipotle, by the way, you can also order the meat by itself. Chipotles are all the way around the country. You go in, you don't ask for anything. You're like, can I get 3 sides of chicken, please?
Yeah. Great advice. And also, one of the great things about, we can go and bitch and moan, and I'm not Ayn Rand, but I'm very openly patriotic, and I'm very openly kind of pro-America and capitalist society, the whole thing. But like I said, I'm not Ayn Rand. I get there's problems. But one of the great things about our system is that in order to kind of stay in business in this country, when you're talking about food services, unless you're Michelin rated, the best of the best, you can fuck with people in that situation. But on a day in and day out basis, anywhere you go to get food, beverages in this country, they'll make it how you want it. They'll make it how you want it. You know why? Because they know there's someone down the street who will, if they won't, and they'll go out of business. So don't have to be a jerk about it, but you could say, Chipotle guy, dude, can I just get a bowl of beans and meat? That's all, when we pull through Burger King. Can I get a Whopper? Can I just get no sauce, just meat, cheese, bun? Cool. Maybe tomato, sliced tomato. No one there is going to be like, this guy, just go out of your way to do what you want for you, because they want to serve you to the best in the best possible way so that you continue to give them business. My life has gotten a lot more busy with work and studying, and I don't want to give up training. I remember watching a video by Elliot Hulse, and he said you can gain a great physique and strength by focusing on only dips, deadlifts, squats, and chin-ups. Do you think this is a valid point? Absolutely. I don't think if you're hurting for time, that's a great idea. I think in general, that's a better idea. Most people get so bogged down by high volume, kind of really intricate, detailed workouts with lots of various exercises. And that is probably an optimum way to train when you get to a very high level. But you're taking advice from it, and I'll go back to this old saying that I always kind of have probably beaten to death, but it's physique training is the only thing that people look at the best of the best and think that they're going to apply it to themselves. If you were a guy who just got into a pickup basketball league, didn't even play in high school, and you're like, dude, I really got to get better at basketball, I'm going to look at Kobe Bryant's 2006 offseason program. No one would do that. They'd be like, well, I can't, obviously, this isn't applicable to me. You're talking about the greatest people in the world trying to get better at being even greater. And that's the same thing applies to physiques, even more so probably, because you have to learn about work tolerance and training history and how metabolically adjusted they are, how hormonally adjusted they are, how hormonally advanced they are because of pharmaceuticals. And so you're taking advice, or you're adopting a lifestyle that is in no way applicable to you. In fact, it could probably do more harm than good because you'll burn out. Focus on progressive overload, getting stronger, incrementally stronger in very basic movements. He recommends, let's see here, dips, deadlifts, squats, and chin-ups. That's 4 great choices, because the dips are hitting most every muscle pretty profoundly in kind of the vertical and a bit in the horizontal plane of push, and chin-ups, same thing with pull. And then you have the squats, which is obviously a great overall lower body workout. Deadlifts is going to get that posterior chain. I would opt out of deadlifts not just if you're old. Okay. I stopped deadlifting not because I'm 45. I stopped deadlifting because I'm 45 and strong. I'm not strong compared to a powerlifter. I'm strong compared to Earth. The deadlift and the squat to a certain extent, if you're strong enough for me to continue making gains and to continue making progress with the deadlift and the squat, I'm now having to lift so much weight that as an older guy, you're starting to get into a very precarious situation. But if you're a relative noob, which most people are, and that's not an insult, most people are not deadlifting 3 times their body weight, squatting double their body weight, for reps. If you're just getting good, learn to squat, learn to deadlift, and do it. And you're not going to hurt yourself using weight that is relatively reasonable, okay? After a hard day's work, how would you recommend relaxing, recovering, replenishing your muscles, mainly legs, you live? That's a tough question. It's a good question, but it's a tough one to answer, because when you say after a hard day's work, after me having a hard day's work, my way of replenishing my leg is maybe go for a long, brisk walk, getting some movement in. I like to swing my clubs and do some side lunges and front lunges and ATG stuff. My hard day's work is so different from someone whose hard day's work is construction. If your hard day's work is delivering mail and you've already walked 20,000 steps, I don't think the best way to recover would be like going for a brisk walk. You know what I'm saying? Movement, I'm not talking about cardiovascular efforts where you're breathing heavy, but movement at a low aerobic pace, zone 1, zone 2, is the best thing you can do for recovery. It helps your body recover. Okay, so getting out, getting your circulation to increase just a bit, but not putting tax on yourself in a central nervous system way. You're getting CNS fatigue or getting muscular fatigue. It's great for recovery. I don't do them, but there's a lot of pretty good science around ice baths and things like that. And another thing is just engage in something that makes you really happy, that's not too taxing, and that don't overlook it. I know it sounds silly. Listening to your favorite music, watching your favorite TV show, massaging your legs while you're watching it. So you're putting yourself in kind of your parasympathetic nervous system is engaged, and you're getting happy and getting relaxed and massaging your legs and stuff like that. The two in a synergistic way can be really, really great. Here's another thing, and I'm guilty of it too. So I'm not like better than you. Stay off social media. I mean, go to at Mike Catherwood and at Mikey Likes You One and stuff, and do your due diligence there. But a lot of like combative people, a lot of angry people, a lot of provocative imagery on the internet not only is taking away from your mood and your spirit, it's going to have downchain negative effects on your recovery. If you can opt to, the other day, my wife and daughter went out of town, so I was kind of stuck by myself. I don't usually get afforded the opportunity to like scroll through the TV. I just don't, but I did because I finished all my work, and then I had already trained, and all the animals are away and stuff, and I'm like, fuck it. I turned on Netflix, and Spaceballs was still on Netflix, and I watched Spaceballs. It's like 70 minutes or something, and I absolutely woke up a happier, better, more energized person because there was no kind of controversial topics. There was no one yelling at each other, talking about Trump or Biden or this or that, or, you know, any of the controversial topics that get a lot of attention. It does play a big role. Do you still talk to Chris Jericho? Yes and no. I mean, I have him on my phone. We texted probably like a year ago. If I saw the guy, I'd give him a big hug, and vice versa. I really like Chris Jericho, but I don't talk to him probably as much as I should. Certainly, I think moving to Texas took me away because I used to see him and talk to him a little bit more. But Chris, good dude. I like Chris a lot. I did Dancing with the Stars with Mr. Jericho, and I lucked out in that I'm terrible at dancing, and I didn't really want to do good on Dancing with the Stars. I did it because I was like, you'll pay me what to do what? And so I did, but I lucked out in that the cast was like all super bomb ass people. Hines Ward is dope, and if you're a sports fan, like Hines is a G. And Ralph Macchio, I'm an 80, I was born in 79, so when I saw Karate Kid, it changed my life. And Ralph Macchio's, I'm so happy to see the success of Cobra Kai because he is so fucking cool. Jericho was amazing. Sugar Ray Leonard was on my season and has no problem talking boxing and his life. Like I would be like, dude, so I saw the fighter a couple weeks ago again. Give me the real story on the Dickie Eklund stuff. He's like, let me tell you something, Mike. He caught me good. The guy's a good fighter. But the movie make it out to seem like he had a chance of beating Sugar Ray Leonard. He did not. I was pounding him out. I understand they have to do what they have to do for Hollywood and stuff. And he was talking about different fights, different battles he was in, and he was fully open about it and stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, what an amazing gift this is, to sit here and just God rest her soul. Kirstie Alley was fucking awesome. She was had no problem being fully open about everything. She's like, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to she was reading a script one time. I was like, oh, something. She's like, yeah, I'm going out for it. She's like, but let's be real. I don't have to work. I'm like, what? She's like, cheers.
Yeah.
You understand syndication money in that era? She's like, oh, you know how rich I am? She's fucking awesome.
I have a question for you, Mike, on that. At what point are you allowed to call yourself in the third person and it'd be socially acceptable?
World champion of any sport.
Any sport?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Ricky Henderson, from what I understand, never says I was fill in the blank. Ricky Henderson was doing this. Certainly in individual sports, tennis, boxing, combat sports, if you're a world champion at that point, you can say John Jones doesn't like this, in my opinion.
UFC fact of the podcast, John Jones, more rest than Khabib has title defenses.
Wow. I think he's a misunderstood guy. I think John Jones, if he commits crimes or he harms people, should pay the price. Of course. I don't think John is I've never met the man. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's freakishly talented. I think he's the greatest MMA fighter we've ever seen, the earth has ever seen. And I think he, at his core, is actually probably a pretty kind, nice dude, and that he's just overwhelmed by the way his life turned out.
Raised in the jungle and then let loose on his own.
With millions of dollars.
The youngest UFC fighter to win a world title ever. Probably one of the highest paid fighters up until Conor. Yeah, what are you going to do?
Justin Bieber's, I think, publicist, I don't remember, this is 10 year, but there was right as Justin Bieber started to get huge, I was on CNN or one of those HLN panel news shows, and he had just gotten busted for smoking weed on a plane. They had to land the plane because it was they hotboxed it so thoroughly. It was a private jet. And he was 19. Okay. And people are like, he's so responsible. I go, yo, do you understand how nasty we would make life for people if we were as rich and famous as he is at his age? All things considered, if they're landing planes because of weed, he's doing pretty good. You gotta put into how crazy we all were, me especially, teenage, early 20s, how wild you are. And if people were surrounding you, powerful corporations surrounded you being yes men and then gave you millions of dollars. Are you kidding me? I'd be like Caligula.
Mike, I set the town on fire with $500.
Yeah.
At 17, 18 years old.
Exactly. Let's see here. I'm a female. 14.4% body fat. DEXA scan verified. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. That's pretty shreddy for a chick. That's that you're
below 10 you lose a period, right?
That's what, yeah, when you start to get fitness model level, that's where you start to come. But by the way, there's downsides. I got a text or a DM from a guy talking about how to get super shreddy, and he was already in pretty good shape. And I said, here's the thing. There's no right or wrong answer, but ideal for men, really optimal for your hormones and for quality of life, 12 to 14. If you can bank in between that's really going to keep you happy and healthy and looking great. If you get single digit as a man, it makes everything else more manageable. I have gotten there, and to gain muscle is easier because you're so lean. To stay leaner is easier because you're so lean, unless you go crazy. A lot of people, they just go crazy. But it makes things more manageable. The problem is you don't want to stay there because it sucks.
You stand up, you get lightheaded.
And
you cramp all the time.
And you're edgy and moody. Even if you're a kind of a happy dude or a happy chick, when you get super shreddy, it does affect your quality of life. So you want to get as shredded as you can without it negatively impacting your quality of life. But she's 14.4, which is great. I mean, she probably looks amazing. My legs and butt hold most of my fat at 11.5 pounds and lean tissue of 42.8 pounds. And I have some cellulite on my legs. I don't drink alcohol, only water, and I eat clean. I don't want to drop my body fat much lower for hormonal and general health reasons. Great point. Curious if you have any ideas or opinions. Thank you in advance. Well, hey, first off, pat you on the back for your accomplishments. Getting 14% as a woman. Let me check out this chick. So you don't look old by any stretch of the imagination, but you don't look like you're a teenager. So that's a real accomplishment, and you should props to you. We talked about it in prior episodes. You can get really lean as a guy and still have very invisible abs. You can get very lean as a woman and still have cellulite or some adipose tissue in your lower body. That's biology. I'm not saying you have to deal with it. Like, just get used to it. That's biology. You're never going to lose fat as quickly in certain areas as you are in others. That's part of being a organic, living, breathing beast. We have survival mechanisms that are built in, and women are going to hold body fat for warmth and internal function in certain places that men are going to hold it in other places. That's that. Now, that being said, you can avoid eating certain things and optimize eating other things to help speed up the process of the visual, make a visual impact on parts of your body. Anything that's going to be a natural diuretic is probably going to be a good choice. Things like asparagus, fresh cranberry juice. There are things you can do to kind of manipulate that. Obviously, there's going to be training stuff too. Increasing frequency in lower body training for women is a good idea. For you, it's even a better idea. Be very guarded around fatigue management, and that if you're going to train your lower body 4 days a week, there should probably only be 1, maybe 2 really heavy sessions. The others should be to increase circulation and upregulate certain things in that part of the body. You're going to look into higher reps, lower weight. And if you do cardio, I would say opt for stair climber, and then incorporate sprints. Or if you can't sprint run wise because of either biomechanics or pain or injuries, what I mean by sprints is like extreme levels of intensity for 8 to 10 seconds. The C2 rower has become my new go-to for that. I used to do a lot of regular sprinting and a lot of assault bike.
Ew.
But the assault bike isn't as available as C2 rowers seem to be nowadays. And sprinting, I still do it, but it started to get to the point where I would have to warm up for 30 minutes to do like a 10-minute sprint session. And that's just, I mean, look, I'm 45. But extreme levels of sprint. And this is where I get a lot of these messages from people. They're like, I do 1 minute sprints, and on my work, and I go, no, you don't. I go, no, you don't. Because Usain Bolt doesn't do 1 minute sprints. Usain Bolt might run intervals, might do, his interval training or his fartlek stuff, like doing 400 meters, one lap around a track at like 85%, 90%. But a sprint literally means you can only do it to that level for 8 to 10 seconds, like the 100-meter dash. I think a pretty good, I'm by no means like a competitive sprinter, but a pretty good, healthy person can do 100 meters in 10 seconds.
No, they cannot.
You don't think? 12 seconds? Something like that?
The average non-running person would be lucky to break 13.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then maybe I'm a better.
Can you break an 11?
I get in high 10s when I'm in light and really working on my sprinting.
Yeah, so you're a mediocre high school runner at that point.
Yes. Yeah, I get that.
Just to put things in perspective for people, because like people really lose it on the running sometimes.
Yes.
About like how much better you can get at a sport. It's like going off against everything, but since we're humans, we think we can run.
Yeah.
We cannot.
That's a good point. Like, always take into consideration the reality of the situation you're in. What I mean by that is, like, I'm from a neurological standpoint, I think I was gifted as far as like reaction time and my ability to stay on my feet and like explode. I always, even in high school, I was never gifted at like endurance and things like that. But I always could, without a training, I could at least serviceably run, But I'm 5'10" with short legs for being 5'10". I'm never going to be No matter how hard I work, I'm never breaking 10 seconds. It's not possible. It's impossible for me to do that.
Not with your melanin.
Huh? I guess. Thank you. But so just keep those things into consideration. Like I also, even when I tried really hard, like the fastest mile I ever ran was like 6 minutes, 40 seconds. And that's
Really?
yeah, that's the fastest mile I ever, and I was fucking toast.
So those are two like really different numbers.
Yeah.
If you can go sub 11 in a sprint,
Yes.
you're high percentage of like normal people. Like you're crushing almost all normal
Yes.
people. But at 640, you're an average, I'm gonna say average in shape runner guy at the gym, but like a lot of people are breaking 7 pretty easily.
My friends who are like fat piles of shit that run marathons and stuff, like they laugh at that. Yeah. No, I agree. So it's just like you got to take into consideration the way, and one that really applies to me just yesterday. Where I'm at jiu-jitsu, and if I'm working on, I'm not going to get too geeky for those of you who aren't into grappling. But when we're working top control, we're working like kimuras and different like entries into darces and anacondas and like arm-based chokes, right, around the neck. I'm getting into nuance. I'm doing pretty good. I'm asking the instructor to give me tips on details of it. Yesterday we started going over triangles, and I realized like I have short fucking stubby legs, and I'm kind of jacked in my legs. On top of being short, they're kind of wide. Like I'm not gonna be a guy who's like a real threat to throw a triangle around people.
But if you do get that triangle, it is so tight.
You can choke the shit out of me. But it's so leg. You got to think of like limb length. Just your average. Some people were born very with incredibly jumpy nervous systems, and that's a positive. Everyone knows like Deontay Wilder. He came out of the womb without punching and throwing, pitching in baseball are the two most genetically predisposed things in athletics, in my opinion, because every guy who's throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, of course they worked on their form. Of course they worked on their abilities. But for the most part, we all know that if you grew up playing baseball, you all knew the guy who just could uncork shit. And then no matter how hard you worked, there was good baseball players who just never could break 85. They just can't do it. It wasn't Deontay Wilder, without learning form, was breaking fucking heavy bags. He just was one of the, he just could uncork. Like Conor McGregor's another one. Conor McGregor is lethal. When he uncorks his left hand, you're just like, whoa. And of course he's worked to refine his form, but he was also given an amazing gift, and we all have that. How did you stay in shape when your wife was pregnant and daughter was born? Very good question. You want to take more time, any of your free time you obviously want to devote to your wife, who just went through cataclysmic, physical pain and emotional suffering. Birth is pretty gnarly. And then there's also the hormonal fallout, the post-birth hormonal fallout. It's a rough time. You want to be there for your lady. And then of course you have a kid. You're like, I want to be around more. What saved me personally was I got a kettlebell. I bought a kettlebell. I remember that was the first time I owned my own piece of like fitness equipment. And I had a 53-pound kettlebell. And every day I just did like 20-minute circuits, some push-ups and some swings and some renegade rows and stuff like that. And was I ready to step on a bodybuilding stage? No, but I absolutely maintained and stayed in good shape. And I actually also made me feel good, kind of opened my eyes to certain limitations I had with my mobility and things like that. What's the best way to drop a few pounds around the belly? I already do low carb and several days of HIIT every week. Okay. Josh around. This is not a insult to you. You asked a very good question, and I think a lot of people want to hear. You can't do low carb and HIIT. Not several times a week. You don't do HIIT. High intensity interval training needs carbs. The word high intensity means glycolytic systems are powering it. So if you're doing low carb and HIIT, you're doing MIT, medium intensity interval training. Okay. It may be tiring to you. That absolutely. But my point being is like you're essentially going to run a race with ankle weights on, because your aerobic system is largely fueled by dietary fat, and you can push yourself to a smaller extent, glycogen and carbs and stuff in your system. But your ATP system fuels that 1 rep max, like Olympic lifting or big heavy power lifts. That's your ATP system. Okay. That's like immediate explosive stuff. 30 seconds to a minute. That's all carbs. You can't, there's no fighter in any sport, in any combat sport, that is like, I'm going to do some keto to get ready for this fight. You will zonk. So if you're doing high intensity intervals, you need glycogen to fuel you to continue to do higher levels of intensity. So that's a mistake a lot of people make because they want the best of both worlds. They're like, if I get really metabolic and advanced with my intervals, I'm also going to go keto or low carb, and then I'll do better. No, you're killing yourself, and also you're probably making yourself starving, and you're kind of putting the wrong side, the same side of the battery together. There's a lot of resistance there. So start lifting weights. Heavy. You don't have to be covered in sweat. Get into that 5-6 rep range and get compound movements 3 days a week and really get stronger. On top of that, couple it with about 100 to 150 minutes a week of lower intensity aerobic training. Long brisk walks are always my favorite because I think they're most biomechanically appropriate for the human system. But incline walking, slow bike riding, stuff like that, where you do it and your heart rate's getting elevated, but you can still breathe completely through your nose and you can carry on a conversation. Do that a lot. It's very good for us. We as Homo sapiens, let me remind everybody, if we look at the animal kingdom, we are not very strong. Even like, let's take, half Thor, like the strongest compared to any simian animal, they'll rip our arms off. Okay. We're not very good swimmers. Michael Phelps can't compare to most aquatic animals. We're not very fast. Compare us to any really speedy land animal, even like a good horse. Like, we're not particularly fat, but what do we got? We can go all day. We can dust up almost all land animals when it comes to long distance. Hey, we're going to hike. We got to get through this jungle, and it may be nightfall before we get there. But even an out of shape person can, you might take a break here and there. Got water, you can make it. And that we're very adept at that. And it's what we're supposed to be doing. And when it comes to changing your body, how it looks, you supplement that with some good weight training so that you can get some actual muscle mass on you. And that's where you start to make that real change. And it is something that happens over a longer period of time. Oh, by the way, talk to Bear Jew. He thanked you for saying the nice things, and but he wrote us at the last Q&A, who or what is a Lune? And luckily I have World of Warcraft dork over here who was able to piece together that is World of Warcraft. But he A, loved hearing us comment on that, and B, apologized for sending us World of Warcraft.
No, more of it. I need all of it.
His daughter, all his kids, I'm really impressed by them. He's a great guy. I like him. But his daughter works the counter at Gracie Humaita Cedar Park, where I train jiu-jitsu. And I mentioned, I was like, your dad just asked me fucking World of Warcraft stuff. And she's like, yeah, he loves it. He and his friends are all dorky about it. Let's see here.
When your kids are calling you dorks.
Listen. You have that. It's in your future. You could be fucking George Clooney. Your kids think you're a dork. I remember very distinctly Dave Grohl, because I had just had Magnolia and Dave Grohl was on the Kevin and Bean show and he's in there. And Dave Grohl, it's not just kind of legend. He's the nicest guy in the world. And he was talking about how he could play arenas, and like be friends with Prince or something. And you get home and he's like, your kids think you're a fucking dork because your dad. They do. Kid Rock has it even better because Kid Rock's so like straight to the point. His son was on a date and he's like, yeah, but I'm gonna go with you because he was still at a young age, Yeah, I'm gonna go with you to supervise. And he sat next to the kid, and his son's like, go sit somewhere else. He's like, I'm fucking Kid Rock. What do you mean? I know I'm your dad, but no, I'm not gonna go. I'm the fucking coolest guy. Like I'm fucking Kid Rock. But it's everyone. Gene Simmons has said the same. He's like, hey, but that was one of the great things about that Gene Simmons. I forgot the show, what it was called, Family Values or something. Mm-hmm. They had a reality show, and he's Gene Simmons, and everybody goes, because we're the most powerful band on the planet, and Gene Simmons of Kiss rocks and rolls, and we tear the roof off of every place we play. As soon as you get to them, they're like, "Oh, fucking dad, loser, you dork."
You left the toilet seat down.
Let's see here. Oh, I'm getting back to that question for Josh. You can't spot reduce. He wants to know the best way to lose weight around your belly. The best way to lose weight around your belly is keep going. By that, I mean, you probably, if you're asking how to specifically lose weight here, you've probably already lost weight in your upper delts, your face, maybe even your upper chest. That's where it goes quickly. Women, the same thing. I can't tell you how many female questions I get about, I've made some gains, but how do I lose weight around my booty? How do I lose weight around my upper thighs? Blah, blah, blah. It's the last to go. It's a different form of fat, and it is there for a reason to keep your intestines and things warm. So you just got to keep going. I played rugby for a bit around 35, got fairly jacked, but COVID stopped play. I had 2 more kids, job, moves, blah, blah, blah. I'm still strong, but I've been off the routine for years. I used to have a serious lifting and cardio regimen. Now I'm dad all day. What can I do for the next month to get the engine going again? Very good question. And I think a lot of people are faced with a relatively similar situation where life comes at you and it's just like your priorities get shuffled around. Don't overlook how much intensity plays a role. And when intensity is valued, your volume and frequency can be much, much lower. I, who really values my physique and my health and fitness, have had tremendous gains, tremendous levels of fitness and striations and all the whole thing from 2 days a week of weightlifting. 2 full body training sessions focusing on compound movements, but I was fastidious about making sure that my working sets were working sets and that I wrote down in detail every rep and every weight so that next time I came back, it was going to be even better, whether it be 2.5 pounds or it be another rep. I was constantly making that progressive overload. And then when you do that, the only other factor that has to be taken care of is diet. And now that, when it comes to how you look and your overall probably appreciation of your physique, is way more important. And that doesn't have to change when you get more busy. Of course, it gets a little bit more difficult if you have kids because there's more mac and cheese around the house and you have to go buy other stuff at the grocery store when you go to the grocery store besides the stuff you want. I understand that. But there's no amount of busy that forces you to go from incredibly healthy eating to junk food. There's no amount of busy. There's just different ways, different avenues of you finding your way. So really double down on the quality and the intensity of your training because you may only have 2 30 to 45-minute sessions a week, which is fine. Like I said, I've done it and I'm proof positive. And focus on the quality and the intensity of your training as you reduce the frequency, but be consistent with it. You train on Tuesdays and you train on Monday and Thursday. Thursday comes up and out of the blue, you're like, you have to go pick up your kids from fill in the blank because your wife got held up at the whatever. Fine. Friday, you're going. Friday, if you have to wake up early, you go. But stay consistent. Two training sessions a week, 30 to 45 minutes. Only one, maybe two working sets per exercise. By the way, for those of you interested, this is a great time to point out, I just created a new training program that I'm using on my Patreon clients, and I call it the 4x4, and it is 4 exercises, 2 days a week. So 2 different sets of 4 exercises, 1 working set for each exercise. So it's 4 working sets, 4 exercises twice a week. So you're 8 working sets a week, and people really are seeming to enjoy it. But you make those working sets count and make them meaningful. You write down exactly how much you did, how many reps, and you're looking to progress every time. It's better than last time, as Greg Doucette always points out. And a couple more. What's the best exercise to shed belly fat over 40? Okay, so just to show you how important this is to a lot of people and how common these questions are. The best exercise to shed body fat over 40, I have 2. The fork put downs and the table pushaways. I had one man in particular got really mad at me for saying that. And I was like, dude, I'm not trying to be dismissive. I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm trying to use a kind of a comical way of pointing out you can train all you want, especially over 40. You could I could tell you what the best exercise is. First off, there is no one exercise. It's going to be a collection. Secondly, it doesn't matter how much you exercise. If you're eating like shit, and most people don't even know what that is, they think as long as they don't eat Pizza Hut, they're healthy. No, get a sense of how much your body needs calorically to eat, just to maintain your weight. You have to, and it takes work. You have to find that out. Then drop that by 500 calories and stay there for a long time. With that, couple it with resistance training, smart, well-approached resistance training for health reasons. Not necessarily just to shed the belly fat, but for health reasons, look into, certain types of other movement, aerobic movement. But as far as looking good, get into weight training, get serious about it, get consistent about it, and stay in a caloric deficit and up your protein. That's what you got. That's the best way. Frankly, the only way. That's the only way you're going to do it to shed your belly fat. And as I pointed out earlier, that's the last to go. That's the reason I'll put it up right now if you want so you can see. But I took a picture with my daughter at a water park here in Texas yesterday. And it was a water park, so I was shirtless. I don't often take a lot of shirtless pics. But the other parents that I was with, they're like, damn, look at your abs. I'm looking at my delts and stuff. I'm like, oh, get them smaller. Look at my upper chest. Oh, no, I need more stretch. But they're like, look at your abs. And I think the reason that is such a coveted thing in men is because that shows that you're not a hobbyist. Abs mean something because it's the last type of body fat on men to go. If you have abs, it's just, okay. I've seen plenty of guys with great arms, big fat belly. I've seen plenty of guys with barrel chest, and you're like, oh, that guy looks good. And you're like fucking fupa. You've never seen someone with really well-defined abs and the rest of their body's fat. I'm males. I've never seen
small.
That. Huh?
It may be small.
It may be small. Yeah, no, I've seen swimmers and stuff where you meet them in person, you're like, ooh. The guy I met a professional. He was on the tour. I forgot his name, but he was on the Tour de France with Lance Armstrong. Mm-hmm. Older fellow because he was competing with Lance Armstrong, so he's a little older than me. He's in his 50s, but he was so shredded. But I almost couldn't wrap my head around how little he was. I couldn't, and I'm not a big guy, but he was whoa. He was like a baby. But fucking was he shredded. Still, he hasn't been competitive for 9-10 years. And he was, an anatomy chart, But I'll never see someone with like good abs, a dude with good abs whose body's a pile of shit. It doesn't happen, okay? And that's for a reason. Okay, so you want to know how to lose fat around your belly. You can't spot reduce. It's a journey, brother. It's a journey. And I do believe that is the best way to go about it. It's like really well regimented, really serious weight training, and then diet and diet and diet and diet and diet and diet. And it's not going to happen soon. That's another reason why I think people's appearance should never be at the top tier of values that we look at people. But when you do see someone who, especially in their older age, is able to be lean and muscular and have a great body, that is why we all kind of even subconsciously go like, whoa, wow, that's impressive. Because it doesn't matter how much drugs you do, it doesn't matter how much surgery you've had, it takes so much time and patience. It doesn't happen quickly. When we talk about great financial minds, Sam Walton comes to mind. People who have really accomplished something, titans of industries. Jeff Bezos has to be put in that. Absolutely has to be put in this territory. Walt Disney. It's never like the investor who got rich overnight. I'm not saying anything against you, men and women who do that, but like crypto bros who's like they were living with their parents and then on Tuesday and then on Saturday they were millionaires. We don't write books about those people. We don't make biopics about those people. The reason we respect the guy, like you see those pictures of Jeff Bezos founding Amazon in a literal garage with like 4 PCs, and he's like, I'm going to do it. And you're like, fuck. That's just never giving up and chipping away, and no matter how much discouragement came his way, no matter how
selling
much
books,
no matter how much lack of success, he just kept going at a vision. And that's what is really kind of beautiful about when people do great body transformations, is because I know, we all know you just didn't stop, because it didn't happen in 6 weeks. It didn't happen in 30 days, just like all these things are promising you. It takes real time and a real ability to look in the mirror and go like, I don't know if I'm doing very good. In fact, I'm kind of sure I'm not, but I'm not folding up shop. I'm just going to keep pounding away. And I was talking to this kid yesterday. It really felt kind of meaningful to me, because I'm not that good at jiu-jitsu I'm good in compared to Earth, but I'm not good in compared to like guys who are really good. And I was rolling with this kid who was probably like 16, 17. He was a white belt. He was just getting started. And he was like, man, I just feel so helpless. And I said, honestly, dude, don't give up, because the reason the turnover rate, the reason why people give up in jiu-jitsu so much more than practically any other athletic endeavor, I can't tell you how many people who stopped at blue belt. It's thousands and thousands. So many people start it and they give up, because almost everything I've ever done besides surfing and jiu-jitsu, there's an upward trend. Even if it's small, there's an upward trend where you go and you do it, and the more you do it, you get better. There's so much of just feeling utterly shitty about yourself in jiu-jitsu for so long. Even I'm a purple belt, been training a long time. I absolutely go home 50% of the time feeling like I don't know if I'll ever be good. It's so hit or miss, and you get so frustrated. And so when I see people with black belts, I'm always like, man, you just had to push through that shit. You just had to, because it's so disappointing and so frustrating. And everyone, don't get me wrong, it's highlighted. Every once in a while that you get those pings of like, fuck, oh man, I'm doing something. I thought about setting something up. I set it up and I achieved it. And you're like, wow, you feel great. But it's usually a wash in a sea of just getting smashed and feeling utterly useless. And I have to tell you, like, that's the same way getting shredded, or even just changing the way you look for the better. It's not something Like you don't go to the gym and then look in the mirror when you get home and go like, yep, all right, woo, look at them. It takes so much of not getting much appreciation, not getting much pat on your back, and just continuing to go anyway. Until that one day when you get that first compliment, you go to a pool party. I'll tell you right now. I can tell you right now where I was, what I was doing. I went to a club when I was probably about 20. I was not clean. I was still on drugs. Because that was a big part of this story. So I was not clean. So I was probably 20. And I went out to a night of partying and clubbing with my friends back in Los Angeles, people I grew up with. And I was with my friend Carolyn Shu and Chinese girl. And I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley, for those of you Southern California people. So I grew up with a huge network of Asian friends, you know. So we went out to Hollywood or somewhere. And then, so on the way back, it was like 2 a.m. We went to Monterey Park, Alhambra area to like a Chinese diner. And we were in the parking lot, and I don't know if some other female there was really cold. And I had this like button up on. Okay. I was like, you want this? She's like, do you care? I was like, no. I have a wife beater on. And I took my shirt off and I handed it was either her or this other girl. And Carolyn Shu looked at me. She's like, oh my God, Mike, you're ripped. And I was like, oh, really? I mean, I had been training like crazy and stuff. And I was like, yeah, thank you. I've been working really hard, so thank you. Yeah. And I remember, this is 1999, 2000, 99. And I remember the feeling of the parking lot walking into the place like, fuck yeah. Fuck yes. Yeah. I felt so amazing. You know? So that's just another way of saying like it's worth it in the end, you know? But you got to keep your head down because it doesn't come quick. Unless you're a genetic freak, and then in which case, fuck you. All right. Like, subscribe, leave your comments, please. The podcast is one thing, but I post all these podcasts on YouTube. I need a lot of help beating that YouTube algorithm. So please help me out. Do your best. Give your props to my man Giorgio, who helps make this show a reality and in this crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares. Remember, I do. Be good.